Hello, hello. If you are an English learner living in North America or you want to move to North America and your goal is to improve your pronunciation, have more of an American accent, maybe reduce your foreign accent, or you speak choppy and slow and want to speak more fluently and more smoothly. Hi, my name is Jessie, and you have come to the right place. I help English learners improve their accent, their pronunciation. So today, what's on the agenda? It will probably be a short live today. We'll see. I say that sometimes, and we do end up doing a live for an hour, but I think it will be short this time. So I got an email from a follower asking me a really good question that I think some of you may also be wondering. So it's help. Where do I start? I see some accent coaches say this. I see some accent coaches say this. What's the truth? What do I do? I need guidance. So I will share with you that email. Then, conversation versus accent coaching. So I offer accent coaching. It's a 12-week accent coaching program, but sometimes I also offer conversation and feedback sessions. It is February 4th. And if you go to my website, you'll see that I do offer conversation sessions. So I'll be talking about the differences. So if I'm offering both, when you're watching this video, you can decide which one's best for you because sometimes I'll just offer this. Next, we'll probably end with a judge my accent where I listen to an English learner speak English and I give feedback. So I'm going to see if you guys have any questions. Hello, Gabe. It's nice to see you. And yeah, we're gonna start with the email. Yes, I love that you guys are all pumped up for this. So I just announced this live yesterday, so I know there's a lot of people that don't know I have a live right now. All right, so let's do this. I'm gonna put myself smaller. I got this email. I blurted out the important stuff. I mean, the important stuff, the personal stuff. And I really don't like how that's covering my face, so I'm gonna try and change that before there we go, before I start on this. All right, so the email said, "Hi, Jess, hope you're doing well. I would like to thank you for your tips on YouTube on how we could improve our speaking in English. My name is and I live in and I have a thick accent. So wherever they're from, they have a thick accent from where they're from. When I try to speak English, I hope you can advise me in what's the most effective method to improve my accent before I start this journey, as I feel overwhelmed, especially after I had done some research on YouTube and found that some American accent coaches talk about the term mouth posture, shape, and they say every accent has a different mouth posture, especially the tongue shape. And in order for non-native English speakers to change their accent to the American accent, the first thing, okay, so the first thing they need to work on is to adjust their mouth posture to be like the American one, which needs some exercises to activate some tongue muscles, and they can start working on each individual sound. So the first type of coach will say, work on your mouth posture, then work on the sounds. Other coaches talk about different terms, the voice placement, and they say the first thing non-native speakers should work on is practicing each individual sound until they get all the American sounds, and at the end they can work on voice placement. So what's the correct way or method to start? Thank you in advance. If you are reducing your accent, you might have this question. Also, if you are starting your accent reduction journey already in it or near the end or advanced, please tell me down below what you were taught and what you practice. So, first, what I'm going to say as a response to this is disclaimer, you will get a different response depending on who you ask. So if you ask me, you'll get a response. If you ask somebody else, you'll get a different response, maybe, maybe not. So just be aware of that. And I want to say I respect the opinion of both schools of thought, just to be upfront and clear about that, because the first accent coach that you talk about, I actually follow an accent coach, and I think you might be referring to this person. And I have a lot of respect for her. I In fact, she's the reason why I was like, "Whoa, accent coaching exists. I wanna get into it." So, know that I respect each opinion. I'm gonna start with sharing with you, what I was taught. So, when I studied to be an accent coach, the person who gave the courses was an American speech language pathologist, and her thing was, "Don't worry about placement, don't worry about mouth posture, shape, all those kind of things. Work on the sounds first. Because if your client can pronounce those sounds and continue to practice those sounds as they are, like, they're going to develop that muscle memory to pronounce those sounds correctly." And she also says that it's just really complicated and overwhelming. And it's funny, I see that in your email. You just feel overwhelmed. I would too. When people talk about placements and using different muscles and changing your muscle habits, just by doing tongue exercises, it's like, what? Where do I start? How do I do it? It's just a lot of overwhelming information. So, the person who trained me said, work on the sounds first and make sure your client can pronounce those sounds. And also, when you're able to pronounce those sounds correctly, notice how it feels in your mouth. That's another way to kind of feel, okay, that's what it feels like to pronounce it correctly. Now, I'm going to share with you because I have a bunch of different thoughts on this. I'm going to share with you when I personally talk about placement with my clients and my approach. So, I will also share with you, just for some context, English is my first language. French is my second language. I want to become more like a native speaker in French with a Quebec accent. I would really like to improve my accent. And Spanish, I I want to be able to be understood, but not sound like a native speaker, because I just don't have time and energy to improve. So, that being said, with the level of pronunciation that I have in French, I have never learned about mouth placement. Never. I haven't talked to my husband. He speaks English as a second language. He speaks well. Of course, he might have a little accent here and there. Stress might be in different places. I'm sure if I asked him, he would probably say, I've never heard about mouth placement or tongue exercises. Okay. So it's totally possible to improve your accent, improve your pronunciation without doing tongue exercises, um, you know, mouth posture exercises, because I believe when you're pronouncing the sounds correctly, your muscles and everything is in the right place to make that sound, generally speaking. Okay. So with my clients, what I do is we work on sound replacements and we work on it repetitively so that that new sound becomes a habit. I normally do not talk about mouth placement, but if I notice, I'm going to talk about a client. If I notice that there's a certain kind of I don't know if I'd say flavor or like accent that comes up, like for example, let's say you're Filipino and you might say the or T instead of the TH. You might say the dishes instead of the dishes. Okay, if we correct that, and then I notice they still kind of sound like, how do I say this? Their T's and their D's still sound weird, or different, I should say, then it might be their mouth placement. So, for example, Filipinos will have a tenser tongue. So instead of saying, I'm going to go like this when I'm pronouncing it like a Canadian or an American. So instead of saying Alberta, I might hear Alberta, Alberta. It's like, it's that, it's really pushing against the teeth. Then I'll talk about posture, because this habit of having a tense tongue against the front of their mouth like that, t instead of to, right? Alberta, to go instead of to go, right? That's when I'll bring it up. But usually it is like an afterthought. or something to just refine. So, if I was to place myself in my school of thought, whether it be the yellow highlighted or the blue highlighted text, I would be blue highlighted. I would say, work on practicing each individual sound. Make sure you actually are pronouncing it correctly. So, get an accent coach, get a native speaker to say, yes, it's correct. And then you can keep on repeating it to make it muscle memory, to make that sound a habit. And then getting feedback along the way, because if you do not get feedback, you might be changing the sound. You think it's American, but it's not American. So that's when I talk about that's when I personally talk about placement is when and if I'm like, ooh, I think there's a certain like muscular or movement habit that I feel. So some Indian speakers might have like pushed back a little bit. All right. So I'm going to share with you if I was an English learner, would I work on sounds or placement first? What I would do is I would work on sounds first. I would look at, I'm going to actually go up bigger here. I would look at the accent I want. Maybe it's American, maybe it's Australian. Um, it's American. And then I will look at what my accent is. And I'd say, why don't they look the same? If it's like specific sounds, if it's the TH, then I'm going to work on the TH. Work on it, work on it, work on it. Make sure I'm pronouncing it right. Get somebody to verify, a native speaker, an accent coach, or a teacher, right, that actually has the accent that you want. And then once you make it a habit, you'll sound more American. And then I'd work on the next sound and then the next sound. And then I would hopefully find out if there's something that still sounds incorrect and then work on it one thing at a time. So yeah, I'd go with placement first. I'm going to continue here. Oh, another thing I want to mention is when people talk about mouth placement, when people talk about oral posture and just like how everything's supposed to be, sometimes I listen to them and I respect them. But I'm thinking if I was an English speaker, even as an English speaker, I don't know if I really understand what they're asking or telling me to do. Like, could I actually follow the instructions of most coaches who teach placement? I don't know. So that's another level of overwhelm, another reason you might feel overwhelmed or like stressed or like, this is too hard. So, I would just work with sound replacement. And I also would compare this with the analogy of there are some teachers who will say, learn grammar first and then learn how to speak. I'm the opposite. I say, expose yourself to English, learn English, play in the language, and then you can refer to grammar rules later because you'll be like, oh, that makes sense. That's why people say it like that. Or, oh, that's why it's wrong. Because if you focus on grammar first, it's like you're learning something that you haven't really experienced yet. That's how I feel when people say oral posture before sounds. So sorry if that seems abstract, but that's how I see it. All right. So another thing I will say is if you want to see progress in your accent reduction journey, get feedback constantly. Get feedback from a native speaker, an accent coach, a teacher, someone who has the accent that you want, because sometimes there are teachers and accent coaches that do have an accent that may not be the one that you want. And, it happens, but just know that you want to get feedback from someone who has what you want. And if you want to know the framework of how I approach accent reduction, because I kind of touched on it today, I kind of talked about it. But if you would like my little mini course, if you comment framework in the replay on YouTube, so Facebook, not Facebook, but if you watch the replay, watch it again, comment framework on YouTube, I will share with you how to get my framework. It's a 30-minute mini course. I also have a PDF summary. And if you stay on my email list, because that's what you'll be signed up to. If you stay on my email list for 21 days, you'll get some other good freebies. So check that out. I'm going to check out the comments to see what's going on. Dun, dun. Hello, Anna. And Zaid says, can I get a course with you? Yes, By course, do you mean a self-study course? I have my right here. I have my Native Speaker Secrets course. It's a self-study course. I also offer one-on-one private accent coaching, and I also, not always, but right now, I'm currently offering conversation and feedback sessions. So if you're interested, let me know. Actually, just go to my website. If you're interested, go to my website and purchase that. I'm good. How are you? And hello, hello. So technically, I'd say that I speak 3 languages. I'm learning a 4th, but it's really slow and I'm not consistent. Good, I'm glad you like it. Okay, Arabic language is your first language. Cool. Arabia, Arabic. Good morning. Hi. And I'm gonna see if I could reply to this. One second. Because normally on the replay, I can't really reply. I mean, on the actual live, but I think if I copy and paste it here, it should work. All right, so I'm gonna put the framework. There we go. All right, you should be getting a link. It should be popping up on Facebook, on YouTube. So I'm hoping you could click it. If not, maybe later. And hello. Hello, hello. And if you guys have questions, feel free to ask. And I'm doing well. How are you? Next comes perfect timing. I'm going to talk about conversation and accent coaching. I do not always offer conversation practice, but I do now. So you asked what is today's topic. I talked about accent reduction. Do you work on, mouth posture? Do you work on sounds? Now we're going to talk about this, and then we are going to end with a judge my accent, which I'm really excited about. All right, greens from Mexico. Hola. Hola desde Canada. Okay. All right, so I'm going to talk about my conversation Zooms versus my accent training. So if you want to work one-on-one with me, I'm going to share the differences between both. All right. So there are conversation and feedback sessions. That's number one. The second one is accent training. Again, you could find this on my website. If I'm offering conversational Zooms, it will be at the very bottom of my website, but it's not something I always offer. Accent training is 12 weeks and it's really intense. So we work on a sound a week or an aspect a week. Sometimes we'll repeat sounds. And this is really for people who ideally live in North America already and they want to really refine their accent. They want to get really serious. They are ready to practice 10 to 15 minutes a day. So we work on a sound a week and I give you like a sheet, like I'll give you homework of which words and phrases to practice. And you do that 10 to 15 minutes a day. And you'll have access to me through Telegram and you can send me messages practicing the sounds. Say, did I practice it right? Did I say it right? Yes, yes, yes. To help you reinforce those good pronunciation habits and make sure that you are pronouncing the right sound because by practicing every day, you are creating that new sound, that new accent, that new habit. This is, how do I say it? I should have a sample session where you guys can see it on my YouTube, but this can seem very repetitive. So just a warning. It's very structured, it's very repetitive. When we're working on a sound, I'll get you to read words with different sounds. Then we will say sentences with different sounds. And then we will have a little bit, very little conversation just so that I can listen to see if you're able to apply those sounds. But it's very repetitive. Some people might find it to be maybe boring. Okay. I just want to be upfront because we are creating habits. We are putting in the reps. Like if you're going to the gym, you are Lifting weights. It's kind of boring sometimes lifting weights, but you know that you are developing muscles, okay? So that's what accent training looks like, and I want to be completely transparent. So that's what it is. Here, conversation and feedback Zooms. This is for English learners who just want to have conversation practice, one, want to improve their pronunciation. Maybe they make a lot of mistakes when they speak, or just some, and they want to have feedback. So they want to make constant progress. It's less intense. If somebody had conversation Zooms and they want to do the same homework as accent training, they can, but there's no Telegram support in between lessons because it's going to be less expensive, way less expensive than accent training. And yeah, it's just a casual way for people to practice their conversational English. Ideally, if they have a thick, medium, maybe light accent, because it's hard for me to always pick up on little mistakes in um, conversational Zooms. But at the end of each lesson, at the end of each conversation and feedback session, I will go through like your biggest pronunciation mistakes, the biggest, I guess, grammatic. I don't like grammar. As the things that make you sound unnatural grammatically that English speakers, sorry, that English speakers would not say. So that's kind of the difference. If you have any questions, please ask. But I would basically say conversation and feedback sessions are best for you if you want casual, laid back, less structured learning. You want to improve your pronunciation, improve your conversational skills, and just get feedback, right? It's nice for that. And if you want to not commit to full accent training, you'll still see improvement, I would say, especially if you practice. But, you know, that's it. Next, accent training is best for you. Like I said, if you are serious, you're ready for a structured program. Um, yeah, you're ready to put in 10 to 15 minutes per day practicing those sounds. Another thing I'll say about the conversation and feedback sessions, if you wanted to practice a presentation for work, for school, I don't know, anything, I'm open to pretty much any English activity that you want. So if you're like, "Ah, like I have to read or I want to learn how to read better in English, if you have a book and you can give me a copy, we could read together, or I can listen to you read. Um, it's very, very flexible. So the conversation and feedback sessions are very flexible. Um, I'm pretty much open to like if you want to play games, I have English games. If you want to just talk, if you know, just not academic. Okay, so I'll have a video posted down below of what these sessions look like. So it's not academic, it's not IELTS prep, it's not CELPIP prep, it's not writing. No, it's conversational English and spoken English. Okay, and not grammar heavy. So if you have complex grammar questions, no, it's not for me. All right, let's see if there are any questions. This is going to be a short live. Heights, Haiti represent. Yes. It is so good. Thank you. So I was looking at another comment when I was reading the other one. That's why I was like, my face would blank. All right, as an accent coach, is there any good practice for learners to improve their ears for minimal details so they could somehow coach themselves? Um, Great question. To that question, I would say, what kind of improvements do you want? So, for example, if people have trouble with like the e sound and the I sound, so instead of eat, they say it. Instead of sheet, they say shit. Then I have like playlists. I haven't, I haven't given it yet to my email list, but I have like unlisted private playlists where I have like sounds that sound similar. So I have like minimal pairs and practicing like developing your ear, hearing different sounds, but they're very specific depending on the need of my client. Um, but yeah, I think it's a good question. But I would say the question you should ask yourself is what do I want to improve on? and what kind of, like, resource would I want. Then I'd be able to tell you what could be helpful. Does that make sense? And I'm actually gonna be doing an accent review, and I'll share with you, yeah, I'll share with you kind of some things that I would look at if I was that person. So I'm hoping that helps. All right. I'm going to prepare this. Okay, I'm just preparing for the Judge My Accent. So that's why I'm doing nothing right now. All right. I think I have everything. So I have the media, the intro, and I think this is going to be the last segment today.
Judge My Accent, a place on Reddit where English learners can get their accent judged.
Wow. So who's my next victim?
I'm just kidding. I'm here to help you and judge your accent so that you can improve your accent and speak more like a native English speaker with an American accent. Let's go.
All right. So on this episode of Judge My Accent, it's not going to be from Reddit, but it's actually from my SpeakPipe. So if you are an email subscriber, once in a while, I will say, hey, I'm looking for voice messages and accents to review. Then people can submit their audio to me. So I'm just going to share my screen. We are going to listen to the audio. I'm going to take notes and I'm going to give feedback and answer the questions that the person might have. Because you can send me a message on this and say, hey, I've heard this. Can you give me advice on how I can improve my accent? Here's how I speak, or, any question regarding English pronunciation, accent. Okay. So I'm going to go here. And I'm going to share my screen. Okay, for some reason, I cannot share just the windows. So I'm going to share everything. All right, I really hope you guys can hear it. No, I'll stop sharing and make sure that I turn on my audio. Thank you for your patience, guys. This is not it's not always easy. Whoops. Oh, that's why. It's because it's not there. Okay. One second, guys. Okay, this time it's gonna work. Chrome tab. All right, so I'm gonna share my sound and boom, boom. All right, so we are going to listen and yep.
Hi there. So I don't really talk to people because I'm really shy. So when I need feedback, I go to Reddit. I ask for feedback on Judge My Accent, for example. But recently I've been getting a lot of people saying that I sound like somebody trying too hard to do an American accent, or that I have a forced accent, that it doesn't sound natural. I don't really force anything, so I don't know what's giving that impression. So I'm gonna yap a little bit about my English journey. So I started learning.
I've not had this many technical difficulties in a live before. I apologize. Let's share it again. Yeah, there. I want it to be on the right side. Mhm. Okay. There we go. So we're gonna listen to it again, and in the replay, I'm gonna be cutting this fluff out. Oh my goodness, I just lost what I was wanting to share. Okay. Let's do it again. There's 8 of you guys that are faithful and staying for this. Okay. Here we go.
Hi there. So I don't really talk to people because I'm really shy. So when I need feedback, I go to Reddit. I ask for feedback on judge my accent, for example. And but recently I've been getting a lot of people saying that I sound like somebody trying too hard to do an American accent, or that I have a forced accent, that it doesn't sound natural. I don't really force anything, so I don't know what's giving that impression. So I'm gonna yap a little bit about my English journey. So I started learning English in December 2023, and I only focused on my comprehension of the language. I avoided speaking because I thought it would be bad for me. I don't know why. I thought I would create bad habits or anything like that. So I avoided speaking, and I only started speaking like 6 months ago, and I really enjoy it. Um, and I started like shadowing, and I kind of fell in love with it. And I like how American people sound, and I want to sound just like them. So I hope one day I can get there and maybe become a an accent coach, because I really enjoy that topic. So that
All right, so cut off there, and it did when I was listening to it just before coming on. So, to answer your question, does it sound like your accent is forced? Does it sound like you are trying too hard to have an American accent? I personally would say no. No, I don't see anything fake. I don't see anything forced. What I would say is when you go on Reddit and you get feedback, which I think is probably on Judge My Accent, when people say it sounds forced or fake, I would wonder, 1, are they just trolling? 2, I would also wonder, like, what is their like, what's their first language? Do they actually speak English as a first language? Because I feel like there's sometimes people who give feedback that maybe aren't, I don't want to say aren't qualified because anyone could give their opinion. But if I was you, if I were you, and someone said it sounds forced or it sounds fake, I would probably ask them, um, wait, I'd probably ask them why do you think that? Are there certain words or things that make you think that? Because just having like vague feedback and saying it sounds forced, it's not really helpful. It doesn't really help you improve. I would say, what is it that makes you think that it sounds fake or forced or that you're trying too hard? Because for me, I'd kind of wonder, is it because you're reducing certain sounds when you're not supposed to? Is it because you are not pronouncing certain sounds? Is it because you speak like a native in certain places where I was like, oh, this is like an American accent, and then once in a while, there's things that I'm like, "Oh, okay, English isn't his first language." Is it because for some people, if they hear something that sounds like an American accent and then something that doesn't, does it make them think that it's fake? I don't know. There's some people that just have different weird mentalities, but I would say no, it does not sound like you forcing it or you're fake. Hmm. What advice can I give? What advice can I give? I'm gonna see if there's any questions. Not yet. All right. I see someone told me the sound stopped, and I think it was just because when I was changing it, it stopped. When you say people, I almost think I hear people, almost. I could be wrong. And again, I want to say that when I give actual accent reviews, I listen to things multiple times. And when I'm with a client, I'm constantly assessing. So this is not like a real assessment, but this is just some quick feedback I can give you. Another thing you said, I'm just going to yap. I like that you use that American word, but it almost sounded like yup. I'm just going to yap. So I'm wondering if maybe people are like, he didn't say yap, he said yup. He's trying to sound like maybe American. I'm wondering if people are thinking because you're not really pronouncing that sound. And then when you said Reddit, it's okay. It's fine. Some people will pronounce the T, but as I see, you already know naturally. In some other instances, you don't have to necessarily pronounce the T as a true T. You can say Reddit, like a glottal stop, which is what I talk about in this course. What else? And you said you really enjoy it. Again, that's fine in careful speech. A lot of Americans will make that a glottal stop and say, I really enjoy it. A glottal stop. I talk about that in secret number 2 of this course. Because later, when you said, I am in love with it, you said it with a glottal stop, which is really, really natural. It sounded really natural, like an American would. So, next time on Reddit, when people say it sounds like you are faking it or forcing it, you should ask them, why do you think that? Do you have examples? I would love to know. And you can also submit another voice message later for me to listen to. But I'm actually going to listen to it one more time just to see if there's anything else I can add to it. And hopefully, we don't have any technical difficulties. So I'm going to listen to it again. And if you are here and I am listening to your message, feel free to say something or ask anything if you want. You don't have to, though. Okay, so let's listen to it one more time. Wait, I'm going to stop that again. I picked that up the first time, and I'm going to see if I can hear that again. It sounds like instead of saying hi there, air, air, you might be reducing it to there, hi there. That might be why people think, is he forcing it because he's reducing that? Because if you've taken, well, if anyone's in my course, they'll be able to see that I talk about how they are can turn into or reduce into there. And in fast speech, it can reduce to there. And it sounds like you might be reducing it, but but in this context, we wouldn't do that. Maybe that's why, but let's listen to this again. All right. So yeah, I'm wondering if it's because you might be reducing certain sounds. Like instead of saying hi there. Okay. So I'm going to do this when I say it like an American. I'll say it when it doesn't quite sound right. It's nothing to be rude. It's just to give a visual. So I would say hi there and not hi there. Hi there. I wouldn't say that. So hi there. I would say yap. I'm just going to yap. Not I'm just going to yap. Okay? So be careful of reducing it or not pronouncing it fully. I can't remember with comprehension if I can't remember with comprehension if you said comprehension. I don't know, but I would say comprehension just in case. Um, and then I think at the end you said I'm hoping I can get the instead of there. Maybe that's what I heard. Again, like I said, when I work with clients, I actually constantly assess them. I listen to things over and over again, but that hopefully can give you a starting point or an idea why people might be saying that. So, Gab, if you want to submit another one, or if you want to submit another one and tell me why Reddit people are saying that you are forcing your accent, feel free to do so. So, I am that's the end. No, it's not the end. I'm going to actually share this little CTA. If you're curious, anyone watching, you want to improve your accent, if you're curious about what framework I use to improve a client's accent and what it looks like step by step, feel free to comment framework in the replay, not the live, in the replay of my YouTube video. And I can share with you where you can get my free framework mini course to accent reduction. All right, and that's the end of this segment. I'm going to see if there's any questions because I think we're ending before. We're going to end before an hour mark. I like that. All right, I'm going to answer this first. Hey, I'm here. Do you think there are any consonants or vowel in specific that are a dead giveaway? Or do you feel like I should work on? Okay. I don't know if you said this after I gave the feedback, but I would say be careful about reducing or not pronouncing. Like, for example, there. There. Don't say there. Unless you're saying they are, which turns into there. And in very fast speech, it goes there, which I talk about in this course. But in this context, no, I wouldn't do that. Something else, now that you ask, because I did have this on my sheet, when you said feedback, back, it sounded like back instead of back. I would say it a little differently. In fact, when you said that, I was like, oh, is he Filipino? It kind of reminded me of how I hear sometimes my Filipino clients and friends that say it back. Let me know. Then I was like, but then with your intonation, there's like slight something that I was like, maybe he speaks like Cantonese or Mandarin. But there's nothing specifically Asian. Like there's no sounds that sound Asian, but I'm like, with the intonation, could it be an Asian language? I don't know. Like you've worked really, really hard to get to where you are in your accent. So there's nothing specific that I'm like, oh, he speaks that language. But if I had to try to take guesses based on like one sound, I feel like it might be an Asian language, but I don't know. I mean, if you're comfortable with saying, you can say it, but I just share my thoughts because it can help you maybe see what I see. All right. Hello. It's good to see you. It's good to see all you guys too. Hi, greetings from Italia. That's so amazing. Hello. Oh no. Linda says she cannot hear anything. I really hope that this is working. All right. Gab, do you have any questions? I'll give an extra 30 seconds just in case there are some people typing. But I'm pretty much here every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So that's kind of my new schedule now. And if you guys are interested in improving your English, especially if you're on Facebook, you should come and check out my YouTube. I have a bunch of different playlists. If you go to American Accent Training with Jess on YouTube, finally, my links work on Facebook to go to YouTube. You can see that I have different playlists. If you click playlists, you could decide what you want to work on. If you make English mistakes, you can watch my common English mistakes. If you need pronunciation help, I have Speak Like an American. If you want to work on connected speech, I have connected speech practice. If you want English learning tips, I have that too. I have accent reduction tips. I have a lot of things for you guys. All right, I don't have any thanks for your feedback. My pleasure. I'm sorry it wasn't super conclusive, but I'm like, oh, maybe that's why people are saying that. But feel free to send me another message later, especially if you have feedback from people on Reddit. And I'm so glad you can hear me. Grazie, Ninda. All right, so that's the end of it. And I hope you guys have a lovely week. And take care. And bye bye.